So given the coronavirus situation, I want my prospective customers to know that I respect their space and I respect their time. If a demo is appropriate, I want to give them the opportunity to re-ingest the discussion that we had, and I want them to be able to share the relevant parts of our meeting with other colleagues if they feel like they need to.
So, Dad, why do you do these videos?
Hey guys, it's Matt Gambino here, helping you level up your skills in sales and marketing. This is the place to learn how to acquire new customers and to advance your careers in sales and marketing. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to check out show notes and links to other resources down below. Okay, so your customer's buying process has been interrupted because of this health crisis, and only you know when it's appropriate to reboot the conversation and eventually provide a virtual demonstration of your product. So in this video, I'm going to reveal 6 tips for giving your customers a virtual demo, if and when it's appropriate, and against the backdrop of the coronavirus. Let's get to it. Tip number 1 is to balance empathy. In a virtual meeting during this particular crisis, I've got to balance a lot of things right off the bat. First of all, I'm a human with empathy and with sympathy, and I want to be able to express that in my meeting. But on the other hand, I want my customer, in this case we'll call her Janice, to be able to decide whether and for how long she wants to talk about the coronavirus. And at the same time, we've got to do pragmatic things like do sound checks before we can get underway to make sure the meeting's productive. It's a lot to think about. Empathy and sympathy should come naturally to you. If it doesn't, I'm going to suggest you go for a career in politics or something. Your empathy should come through in the tone of your voice and in the expression on your face over the webcam. Hey Janice, I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today. Full stop. I mean, let Janice react to that statement and let her control the first part of the dialogue. She might say something like, yeah, there's a lot going on right now over here. I'm sure you can imagine you're probably going through the same thing. Or she might convey to you that she's the type of person that wants to get right down to business right away. But let her make that decision. Give her the oxygen to do that. And if you're giving her that time, your sound check's going to take care of itself, because if she answers you, obviously she can hear you. Tip 2 is to ask if they want the demo recorded. During this crisis, everyone's working from home, obviously. So there's probably going to be some people who are unable to make it to your demo, and that's understandable. So offer the people that are there a recording so that they can share it. And I'm going to talk more about this later. Tip 3, state the purpose and the situation. So Janice, the purpose of our time together today is to prove to you that XYZ Education Company can give your math teachers a way to see which students are practicing on new problems before those problems are covered in class. And you also told me that the teachers need to see which students are really rolling up their sleeves and digging into the material and which students are just checking the box, so to speak. You guys, the purpose of any demo is to prove. If you don't know Janice's situation and you don't know what capabilities she needs based on a previous discussion, I don't know what to tell you. Your demo is going to be a tour of the White House. We're walking. Stop me when you see something interesting. We're walking. Tip number 4, put the problem ahead of the screen. No matter how wonderful it looks or smells, I'm not just going to drop a pot roast in your lap out of nowhere. You've got to remember what it's like to be hungry before I take it out of the oven and show it to you. So let's do that. Let's dig into the hunger. So if I'm a teacher and I'm trying to flip the classroom and I can't see which students are taking the time to prepare themselves before class, if I can't see which students are making an effort to approach new problems like the distributive property on their own before they get into my class, I'm going to have a real problem individualizing instruction. So I want to call your attention to my screen. Can you just tell me what you see in the top right-hand corner? Just saying, hey, can you see my screen? Is very early 2000s. Plus, it's confusing. After all, I might be presenting from 2 different monitors. And speaking of the screen, it better be the cooked pot roast, man. Janice does not have time to watch you chop up vegetables at the login screen and then go through a linear progression of the product for 5 hours. Reveal the pot roast. Finish it first. It's probably a report where the teacher can look at her students' results and can analyze students' time on task. Tip number 5 is to method act. Be the character. Speak in first person, That's going to help your customer imagine herself or her team using the product and making it part of their everyday workflow. Also, I try to emphasize key value points with my voice because obviously my facial expressions and my body language are going to be taking a back seat. All right, great. So we happen to be looking at the dashboard of the XYZ education product. So let's say class starts in about 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and click here to launch my pre-work report at the individual student level. I'll sort it by time on task. I can do it in descending order. And now I can see which student I'm going to be able to call on to describe how he approached the distributive property, for example. Did you hear how I used emphasis in my voice to try to underline those key points? Just don't go crazy with that. I mean, we don't want to be William Shatner. There's something on the student tab. Something. And tip number 6 is to do a lot of cutaways. I mean, this is virtual, so time is screwed up. So I'm going to keep my demo into short, crisp demo moments. And after a demo moment, I'm going to look away from the screen and look right at the camera so that I'm making eye contact with Janice, and then I'll underline a key point or I'll ask her a question. Okay, so let me just stop there and take a breath and ask you, Janice, as you think about how your teachers are preparing for class today, what are some other ways they might use this report to help impact their class time? So there's a lot more to cover, like how to deal with difficult questions or objections, how to progress to the next buying step, and a lot of other stuff. But I'm going to save that for future videos because they're more general in nature. But now I do want to circle back to that recording that I mentioned in tip 2. If you did a great job preparing for the demo, if you worked from an outline, and you know where the pot roasts are, and you know what the key value points are, it's going to be no problem to timestamp those key points in your recording. Just use your outline. Think about that little extra act of service under these circumstances. Think of how easy it's going to be for Janice to take the recording and then share it with other people that need to be in the know so that they can save time by just jumping to a point that's most interesting to them. So I know you've got a lot going on right now, and I just hope that this video was helpful in giving you some rules of the road in preparing your virtual demos under these circumstances, if and when the time is right. So if it was helpful, consider giving it a like. That would be a huge help to me, and I'd really appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.